Have you ever looked around your place, maybe thinking about a move, and that one big question just hits you? Okay, how long is selling this house actually going to take?
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a question that brings up some anxiety for a lot of folks, right? It feels kind of murky, not like a clear step-by-step thing.
Yeah, it really does. So many unknowns.
Well, today, we're going to try and clear up some of that murkiness, this deep dive. It's all about the real timeline for selling a house. We want to uncover what actually speeds things up or slows them down.
Right.
And we've got a great source for this. The insights come straight from the FAQ page on Don and Susie Karstedt's Rethinking Real Estate website, rethinkingre.com. They're known for, just giving straight answers, no fluff.
Yeah, they're very practical, which is helpful here.
Exactly. So our mission is pretty clear. Unpack the stages, look at the typical times, pinpoint those unexpected things that cause delays, and basically give you, the listener, a much clearer picture.
So you can go in feeling prepared.
Totally. Prepared, not panicked. By the end, you should have a better grip on the whole journey, set some realistic expectations, and maybe dodge a few common speed bumps.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Before a house even gets listed, what's that first chunk of time sellers really need to factor in? Something maybe people underestimate.
That's a perfect place to start because this first bit, let's call it getting your house ready, people sometimes breeze over it, but it's foundational. The Karstedts suggest, typically planning for about 1 to 3 weeks for this.
1 to 3 weeks, okay. That sounds manageable.
It can be, but it depends. It's not just a quick tidy up. We're talking deep cleaning, like really getting into corners. Decluttering is huge.
Mm-hmm.
You want buyers to see space, not your stuff.
They can imagine their stuff there.
Exactly. And then there's staging sometimes, which can really help. But the big one people often underestimate, professional photos. Seriously, in today's world, those photos are the first showing.
Online.
Right. Buyers are scrolling fast. Bad photos, they just keep scrolling. It's critical for making that immediate good impression.
Makes sense. What about things that add more time to that 1 to 3 weeks?
Yeah. Repairs. If you find stuff that needs fixing, or maybe you smartly do a pre-listing inspection to find problems before a buyer does.
Oh, good idea.
Definitely. But that can add days, maybe even weeks, depending on what you find and getting contractors lined up. It's way less stressful than dealing with it under pressure during escrow, though.
True.
And what's really interesting here, something the Karstedts really stress, is this part is 100% in your control. How well you do this prep work. It absolutely sets the tone for how fast things move later.
So investing time here pays off down the line.
Big time. Rushing it, skimping on photos, ignoring obvious repairs. You might pay for it with more days on market or lower offers. It's an upfront investment.
That's a really powerful point about control. Okay, so the house is prepped, looking amazing, great photos, ready to go. Now comes the part everyone wonders about. How long does it actually sit on the market?
Right, the time on market. This is where things get really variable. Market conditions are huge here. The Karstedts point out it could be as fast as 5 days in a super hot market, bidding wars and all that.
We've seen those.
Yeah. Or it could be 30 days, maybe more, if the market's slower or more balanced. There's really no single answer. Depends heavily on your local area.
And what makes the biggest difference within that range?
2 things, mainly. Price and presentation. Overpricing. That's almost a guarantee to add time. Buyers today are smart. They have access to all the data.
They do their homework.
They absolutely do. If you're priced too high, you might get showings, but no offers. Then you do a price cut and the house looks a bit stale, maybe gets lower offers than if you priced it right initially.
Ouch. Okay, so pricing realistically is key for speed.
Crucial. And the flip side is strong marketing. Great photos, maybe a virtual tour, getting it out there online effectively, that can definitely cut down the time. It's about being realistic with price, but also making sure the right people see it quickly.
So for a seller wanting to move fast, it sounds like those smart, realistic choices right at the start, especially on price, are just paramount. A bit of objectivity needed.
Exactly right. Get the prep and the price right, and you're setting yourself up for a smoother, potentially faster ride.
All right, so let's say you did all that. Prep was great, priced it well, got interest, and boom, you're under contract. Feels like you can relax, right? Finish line in sight.
Well, it feels like that. Definitely a sigh of relief moment. But yeah, there's still quite a bit happening behind the scenes before you actually hand over keys. That's the escrow period.
Escrow, okay. How long does that usually take?
The Karstedts say this is a pretty standard phase, typically about 30 to 45 days. It's busy, but for the seller, it can often feel like hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait. I like that.
Uh-huh.
What's actually happening during that time?
A whole bunch of checks and balances, really. The buyer will likely do inspections, general home inspection, maybe pest, roof, that kind of thing. Then there's the appraisal, which the buyer's lender needs to confirm the value.
What if the appraisal comes in low?
That can definitely cause issues. More negotiations, maybe the deal falls through if you can't agree. Then you've got title checks, making sure the ownership is clear, no hidden liens.
Right.
And, of course, the buyer's loan approval is a huge piece. Lots of paperwork, underwriting. Things can sometimes snag there, too. And sometimes findings from the inspection lead to more negotiation about repairs.
So still quite a few hurdles.
Yeah, it's that necessary due diligence phase. It feels slow sometimes, but it's really important for making sure everything's legally and financially solid. Protects both sides in the long run.
Okay, that makes sense. So if we added up
Mm.
prep, time on market, then this 30, 45-day escrow, seems like a fairly clear path if things go well. But what's the biggest, wild card that can really mess with that timeline?
The big one. The Karstedts point this out clearly. It's when your buyer has to sell their own home first. That contingency. It can easily add 2 to 6 weeks, sometimes even more, to your timeline.
Wow, 2 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah, because you're basically waiting for a whole separate transaction to happen before yours can finish.
So what are the different scenarios there?
Well, think about it. If the buyer's house isn't even listed yet, that's a long wait. You're waiting for them to start from zero.
Okay, that's risky.
Very. If it's listed but no offer, still waiting. Could be weeks or months. Even if their house is under contract, which is better, you're still dependent on their escrow closing smoothly. Their buyer could have issues, their financing could fall through.
So your deal is tied to theirs completely.
Exactly. That's why the Karstedts really stress having a solid contract, clear deadlines for the buyer, and ideally, include a bump clause.
A bump clause, what's that do?
It's a great protection for the seller in this spot. It basically says you can keep marketing your home even while you're under contract with the contingent buyer. If you get another, better offer, maybe one, without that contingency, you can bump the first buyer.
How does the bump work?
You give the first buyer a set time, usually short, like 24 or 48 hours, to remove their home sale contingency and commit fully. If they can't or won't, you can accept the new offer and move on.
So it gives you an out, potentially. Puts the pressure back on them.
Precisely. It prevents you from being stuck waiting indefinitely if a better opportunity comes along. It raises that important point about needing really careful contract writing to protect your timeline.
That bump clause sounds like a really smart tool in that situation. Are there any downsides to using one? Does it scare buyers off?
That's a fair question. It can make some buyers nervous, especially if they really need their home to sell first. They might see it as too uncertain. And even if they do remove the contingency when bumped, you're still relying on their funds eventually coming through. If their sale falls apart later, well, you could be back at square one after wasting time.
So it's not foolproof, but it gives you options.
Exactly. It's about weighing the risks. But it definitely highlights how important it is for sellers and their agents to think ahead, build in protections, and manage those contingencies actively.
Right. Really strategic thinking involved there. Okay, so adding it all up, the prep, market time, escrow, plus maybe this contingency wildcard. What's the sort of typical total time frame we're looking at from listing to closing?
Yeah, pulling it all together, the Karstedts suggest that generally the total time from listing to close falls somewhere between 45 and 75 days. If things go pretty smoothly, that is.
So roughly 6 to 10 weeks.
Exactly. Which, shows it's rarely super quick, even in a good scenario. Requires some patience.
And what are those main things, again, that stretch it out beyond that 6-10 weeks?
Well, that buyer home sale contingency is probably the biggest potential delay, as we just talked about. Tricky financing can also add time. Certain loans, like VA or FHA loans, sometimes have stricter appraisal requirements or might require certain repairs on the property before they approve the loan.
Yeah, more hoops to jump through.
Yeah, potentially. And then unexpected major repairs negotiated after the inspection. If something big comes up, getting quotes, scheduling the work, getting it done before closing, that obviously adds time too. So 6-10 weeks is a good baseline, but don't be shocked if it takes a bit longer if these things pop up.
That gives a really solid overview of the standard process.
Right.
But what if someone needs to sell way faster? Maybe speed is absolutely the number one priority, even more than getting top dollar. Is there a fast track?
Yes, there is definitely a path for that. It usually involves cash buyers or real estate investors.
Yeah.
The Karstedts mentioned this option. These buyers often operate differently.
I was-
Well, they typically buy with cash, so there's no mortgage process, no lender appraisal delays, all that stuff we talked about in escrow. A lot of it disappears. They can often close really quickly, sometimes in just like 7 to 14 days.
Wow, 7 to 14 days compared to 6-10 weeks. That's a huge difference.
It is. And they often buy houses as is, meaning you don't usually have to worry about doing repairs before closing.
Okay, so what's the catch? Because that sounds almost too good to be true if you need speed.
Yeah, there's definitely a catch, and it's a big one. The price. To get that speed and convenience, you'll almost certainly sell for below market value, sometimes significantly below.
Ah, okay, so you trade equity for speed.
Precisely. These investors need to factor in their own renovation costs, holding costs, and profit margin. They're buying it as a business transaction, looking for a deal, not paying the full retail price you might get on the open market.
So when would that trade-off make sense?
It really depends on the situation. If you're relocating fast for a job, maybe you inherited a house you just want to unload quickly, or maybe you've already bought another house and need the cash urgently or want to avoid 2 mortgage payments.
Right, those high-pressure situations.
Exactly. In those cases, the certainty and speed of a cash offer might be worth more than maximizing the price through a longer traditional sale. It's a tool in the toolbox for specific needs.
That definitely rounds out the options, different paths for different goals. Okay, so let's quickly recap. Selling a home has these fairly predictable stages: prep, market time, escrow. But there are definitely variables, especially around buyer issues like contingencies and financing. And what we've really drawn from Don and Susie Karstedt's insights today is that understanding this timeline, knowing the stages and potential bumps, really empowers you as a seller.
Absolutely. Knowledge reduces anxiety and helps you plan.
Right. It helps set realistic expectations, make smarter choices, and hopefully navigate the whole thing more smoothly. And just a reminder, these practical no-nonsense tips came straight from the FAQ section on Don and Susie Karstedt's rethinkingre.com website. If you're buying or selling, it's a great resource to check out for straightforward answers, helps avoid those confusing internet rabbit holes.
Definitely worth a look.
So, as we wrap up, here's something to think about. We just unpacked how even something like selling a house, which seems like it should be straightforward, has all these distinct phases, potential delays, these wild cards. How might understanding that kind of complexity, anticipating delays, planning for contingencies, apply to other big projects or decisions in your life? What does it really mean to plan for the unexpected, not just in real estate, but in anything significant you take on?